Before we dive into tonight's chilling case, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. What you're about to hear will keep you up long after the video ends. The story begins at 3:12 a.m. in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Brookside Hill, a place where porch lights usually flickered off by midnight and the loudest sound was the distant hum of passing cars on the freeway. But that morning, blue and red lights painted the houses in frantic flashes. Officers had cordoned off Willow Lane, and neighbors huddled behind fences and windows, whispering about the unthinkable discovery on their street. At the center of the chaos stood Officer Dana Mercer, a 10-year veteran known for calm precision under pressure. But even she felt something unsettling as she approached the small rental home at the end of the cul-de-sac. The front door hung slightly open, swaying in the cold wind. No forced entry. No broken glass. Just a door left ajar, as if someone had slipped out moments before police arrived. Inside the house, the air felt heavy, almost stale. The living room was orderly, nothing knocked over, nothing obviously disturbed. But on the floor near the hallway was a single object that made Officer Mercer's pulse quicken: a child's backpack, unzipped, its contents spilled across the carpet. Crayons. A storybook. A tiny shoe. The 911 call had come from a neighbor, Mrs. Holloway, who reported hearing muffled voices and a strange thud through her bedroom window. When she glanced outside, she swore she saw a figure in a hooded jacket standing near the rental home's driveway. Seconds later, the figure vanished. Detective Elias Ward arrived shortly after, tall and sharp-eyed, his expression shifting when he spotted the backpack. He knelt beside it, scanning the room, noting what wasn't there: the usual signs of panic, struggle, or violence. Everything felt too controlled, too silent, as if someone had erased the noise before leaving. In the back bedroom, they found more clues. An open window, curtain swaying. A phone buzzing repeatedly on the floor with missed calls from Mom. A calendar with a school field trip circled for the following morning. And on the bed, a small indentation in the sheets, still warm. Detective Ward exhaled slowly. Whatever happened, we missed it by minutes. The missing child, 8-year-old Harper Lane, had moved in with her father only 3 months earlier. Neighbors described him as quiet, polite, rarely seen outside except for morning coffee runs. Nothing about him raised suspicion. Until now. As officers expanded the search radius, Mercer noticed something odd by the backyard fence: a footprint in the soft dirt, larger than a child's, angled sharply as if someone had leapt over the fence. Next to it, half buried under leaves, was a keyring with a single engraved tag: Unit 307, Brookside Storage. Detective Ward lifted it carefully. Why would someone involved in a child's disappearance drop this? He muttered. But before anyone could speculate further, Officer Mercer radioed in, her voice trembling in a way her team had never heard before. "Detective, you need to see this. We opened the basement door, and there's something down here you're not going to believe." Detective Elias Ward moved quickly down the narrow basement steps, each creak echoing through the empty house like a warning. The air grew colder the deeper he went, and a faint metallic smell lingered in the stillness. Officer Mercer stood at the bottom, flashlight trembling slightly in her grip. She pointed toward the far wall, her voice low. "Elias, look." The basement was mostly unfinished: concrete floors, exposed beams, a broken washing machine pushed into a corner. But the wall Mercer illuminated was different. A large corkboard was mounted there, covered in notes, photos, and printed maps of the neighborhood. Tacked to the center was a school portrait of Harper Lane, surrounded by circles, red arrows, and dates. The earliest date was from 5 weeks ago. Someone had been watching her for over a month. Pinned beside the photo was something more unsettling: a folded piece of paper with a list titled Observation Times. Morning. Afternoon. Evening. Even the time she walked home with her classmates. Detective Ward's jaw clenched. This wasn't random. Someone planned this. As forensic teams filed in, Mercer pulled a small notebook from the ground near the corkboard. Inside were sketches of the neighborhood, hand-drawn with surprising detail. The rental home was marked with an X, and behind it, a thick arrow pointed straight to the fence where the footprint had been found. The basement setup suggested surveillance. But there was no sign of struggle, no indication Harper had been brought down there. Whoever was behind this had used the basement as a planning room, not a holding area. While officers combed through the basement, another team located Harper's father at his workplace. He was pale, shaking, stunned by the news. His alibi checked out. He'd been on a night shift, verified by supervisors and security cameras. But when shown the basement photos, he collapsed into a chair, whispering, "I didn't know. I didn't know anyone was watching her." Detective Ward believed him. This operation felt too calculated, too methodical to be an act of domestic conflict. Someone outside the family had studied Harper's routine and chosen this morning to strike. By sunrise, attention shifted to the keyring found by the fence, Unit 307, Brookside Storage. Storage units were often used to stash evidence or hide movement. Ward and Mercer drove straight there. The facility manager unlocked Unit 307 with a puzzled look. Paid in cash. No name on file. Just a month-to-month agreement. Inside, the unit was mostly empty except for a small folding table with a laptop, a disposable phone, and another map pinned to the wall. This one was even more detailed, with a route drawn in thick marker leading from the rental home to an empty waterfront lot on the edge of town. Beside the map was a chilling message scribbled on a sticky note. "When the sun rises, the trail disappears." Ward didn't waste a second. He called dispatch and ordered units to the waterfront. But before they could leave, the facility manager hurried back, holding a clipboard. "Detective, there's something I just remembered," he said nervously. "The person who rented this unit came by last night. Real late. They were in a hurry, Anne." He pointed toward a surveillance monitor. "They left this behind." Ward stared at the paused screen. A hooded figure. Car trunk open. And inside the trunk, something wrapped in a blanket. He leaned closer. The timestamp read 3:04 a.m. 8 minutes before the 911 call. The figure turned slightly toward the camera, just enough to reveal something unexpected. A familiar watch. One officer, Mercer, immediately recognized. "Detective, that's not a stranger," she whispered. "That's someone on our own team." Detective Elias Ward felt the air tighten around him as the image on the surveillance monitor froze in place. The hooded figure wasn't just anyone, the watch on their wrist was unmistakable. A black titanium tactical model issued only to senior officers in Brookside's precinct. Officer Mercer's voice dropped to a whisper. "Elias, that's Captain Rowan's watch. He wears it every day." Captain Adrian Rowan. A respected leader, decorated, trusted, the man who had trained both Mercer and Ward when they were recruits. The idea that he could be connected to Harper's disappearance didn't make sense. Yet the timestamp didn't lie. He had been at the storage unit minutes before the 911 call. Ward's mind raced. "We're not jumping to conclusions," he said firmly. "We verify everything. No assumptions, no mistakes." They drove to the waterfront lot marked on the map, accompanied by 2 patrol cars. It was an abandoned industrial zone, rusted cranes, collapsed docks, wind slicing through broken warehouse windows. The sun was still low, giving the entire area a cold blue tint. They approached Warehouse 12, the building closest to the shoreline. Ward's flashlight swept across the debris until he spotted something small on the ground, a child's bracelet, pink, with tiny lettered beads spelling Harper. Mercer swallowed hard. She was here. Inside the warehouse, footprints in the dust led to a metal door in the back. Ward pushed it open, revealing a narrow hallway. A faint sound echoed from somewhere deeper, not crying, not shouting, tapping. Soft, steady tapping. They followed the sound to a locked storage room. Ward called Harper's name, but there was no answer, just silence, then one more tap from behind the door. When they forced it open, they found Harper sitting on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, eyes wide but unharmed. Mercer rushed to her, kneeling gently. "It's okay. You're safe now. We've got you." Harper clung to her as Ward looked around the room. No signs of abuse, no restraints, no signs of Rowan. This wasn't a torture room or a hideout. It was a temporary holding spot. Someone had left her there with water and a pillow. A kidnapping, but not one meant to harm her. Ward asked softly, "Harper, do you remember who brought you here?" She hesitated, then nodded. He said I wasn't safe at home. He said someone was coming for me. Ward's stomach sank. This was bigger than they thought. Before he could question her further, Mercer's radio crackled with urgent static. All units, the dispatcher said, Captain Rowan is requesting immediate backup at 51, Riverfall Road. Says he's found the suspect involved in Harper Lane's disappearance. Ward froze. That was Harper's home address. He grabbed the radio. Dispatch, do not send units. Repeat, hold all units. We believe Captain Rowan is compromised. Do not. A loud crash exploded through the radio, followed by Rowan's strained voice. Ward, get here. Now. You don't understand. He's still here. Then silence. Ward and Mercer exchanged a look, fear, confusion, urgency, and sped toward the address with Harper secured in the second patrol car. When they arrived, they found the door wide open, lights flickering, Rowan standing in the living room with blood on his forehead. But he wasn't the threat. A second man was handcuffed on the floor, a neighbor from 2 houses down. A man who had blended into the community for years. Rowan looked up at Ward. I tried to warn you. He was the one watching her. I took Harper last night because I intercepted his plans. I hid her until I could catch him in the act. Ward stared, stunned. The corkboard. The maps. The storage unit. The staged surveillance footage. Rowan had built an entire false trail to flush out the real predator. The neighbor glared up with cold, quiet fury. Rowan exhaled. I'm sorry I broke protocol. But if I hadn't, she wouldn't be alive. The room fell into heavy silence as officers led the real suspect away. Harper was safe. The neighborhood was shaken. And the truth was more twisted than anyone imagined. As the case closed, Ward looked toward the camera crews arriving on the street. Another investigation would come. Another secret would surface. Another mystery would unfold. If you thought this story was intense, he murmured, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.